Week 4, Maffetone heart rate zone 2 training. Hi guys, I'm Chris. I'm a terrible runner, I'm 51, and I realized very recently that my aerobic fitness levels are terrible. I'm actually okay at anaerobic workouts where it's short spurts of effort, but I didn't really realize how bad my aerobic fitness is. So I started researching it a bit more. I'm an actually qualified personal trainer, and it's pretty shocking that I hadn't kind of twigged this. It's sort of stuff that I knew, but I hadn't related it to myself because I just thought, oh, I'm obviously fit because of the martial arts I do, etc. So looked into it. Best thing I've found really for someone like me who isn't going to be going and getting tested and stuff and like getting blood tests and all this sort of thing for perfect figures is the Maffetone heart rate method. So this is 180 less your age. So for me, I'm 50, so it's 130. And then there's a couple of adjustments. So if you're interested in finding out what that is, just search Phil Maffetone, go onto his website. He's got a free ebook that will help you. And I take another 5 off for being not fit, basically. So mine is 125 beats per minute, and I'm aiming to do almost all of my training at the moment between 115 beats per minute and 125 beats per minute. The idea is that once you go above that number, you start producing more lactate, which I can go into more scientifically now that I've researched it. But basically, once you do that, you stop improving the amount of mitochondria that are in your bloodstream, in your muscle. So you are not basically improving your aerobic fitness. You might be improving your anaerobic fitness. Now, the aerobic fitness is the base for everything. And even when you go into anaerobic workouts, because anaerobic literally means without oxygen, we think that they're totally opposite, but they're not. Most anaerobic workouts still use oxygen. So they're still a large percentage aerobic workouts. It's only really if you do a short sprint or very quick workout where you're not even really breathing that you go completely anaerobic or completely non-aerobic. So I hate running. I've always hated running, but I've used running for mental training in the past, mindset training, see how far I can push myself, see what I can do when I don't even want to do it. And I'm past that now, and I'm actually interested in getting good at running because that is the sport I have chosen to improve my aerobic fitness. Cycling's okay, don't really enjoy it that much because running's quite tough and I'm not very good at it. It's a really good challenge for me. And at the moment, I have done 3 half marathons over the last 4 years. I haven't done one. I did one in September. I haven't done one for 2 years before that. But it was literally a case of getting around, lots of walking, and literally a case of getting around. I came almost last in all 3 of them and basically died for about a month afterwards, So my target now, my long-term target is to do a 100-mile race. My short-term target is to do a half marathon in about 10 months' time, so the same one as I did a couple of months ago, and actually run it properly. I haven't set myself a time goal, but it's like I want to run it not with the intention of just getting round, which has always been my intention before, just to see if I can get myself around it, which I nearly didn't on the last one. And like, I don't want to be walking unless, you know, I absolutely have to. I want to be able to run the half marathon. Then I'm thinking the year after I aim for a full marathon, year after maybe a 50 miler, year after a 100 miler, but I'm not fixed on any of that. It's just see how it goes. So let's have a look at this week's numbers. Okay, so if we just start having a look at this, like I've got the last 5 days of the previous week, and then this is the week just completed. Now, the week before, if you haven't seen my video from last week, I played golf on this day, which I count as a rest day, and we walked, and it was the first time we've walked since we've started playing golf again. Stopped playing golf for about, I don't know, 10 years or something. And we just started again. It's the first time we'd walked around. We played a few rounds in the buggy. And the next day, it was the same for my brother and myself. quads and hip flexors were killing. I think it's from walking with the weight of the bag on your back sort of leant forward. So I actually put in a rest day the next day as well because of that. Day after that, I ran, and my ankle started hurting before it even really got into my warm-up. So I was actually literally just walked off the end of my drive, and the inside of my right ankle towards the rear started hurting a little bit. Now, I decided to carry on. I did my warm-up and it felt okay, so I carried on. But I am being super sensitive to any injury or any overtraining signals at this time, which is something I've never, ever done in my life before. I've always wanted to push through things like that for mindset. So I ran that day, and it was an okay run, nearly 3 miles. It was a 40-minute run, plus warm-up and cool down. And the pace, remember, it's math pace, so I'm staying in that heart rate zone, not going any quicker. 14 minutes, 14 seconds, which is pretty good for me. 120 beats per minute was average. But then the next day, the ankle was not good. And it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. So definitely, because I'm being super sensitive to overtraining injury, I took a couple of days off, thinking that it would only take a couple of days, but it didn't. It took a full 6 days before I felt 100% with that ankle to go again. Now, that is something I would never have done before, and it's something I'm going to be super sensitive to, as I keep saying, because it's new to me this time round. So then, also during that time, I decided to drop my training program, so lower my training program. So I'm on a program by a guy called Floris Gearman, and his website is extramilist.com, and he does an online running coaching program, which I have joined. Now, for this base building, there were several programs to choose from, several levels of how much time you could give to it. And I chose the one which is 4 hours to 8 hours, which is the higher end one, the top one, basically, because I've got quite a lot of time, or I'm very flexible with time, and because I work for myself. But I've deemed that this injury and the fact that I'd struggled to get all the runs in for that level made me drop to the 3 to 6 hour one, which basically means in the first week you're starting off at 3 hours, like quarter of an hour added on the next week, quarter of an hour next week. Week 4 is usually a pull back week, and then you carry on and progress. So I've dropped down to the 3 to 6 hour week. So I started this one on the 10th as a 3 hour week. So I started halfway through the 3 hour week, basically. I thought that would be fine to start with that. So the amount of hours done would not be the full 3 hours because I'd already missed 4 days of the week, basically. So anyway, I went out. Run was really good. It was a 15-minute run, 7.5 minutes warm up. I did 7.5 minutes cool down. So that's 15 minutes. The whole workout's meant to be 30 minutes. Okay. So the main part of the workout, though, the run was at 13 minutes, 31 seconds per mile, 120 average heartbeats per minute. And yeah, 15 minutes. In my notes there, I've got the 23, 54, 22. So these are basically the 23 is my version of zone 1, which is anything below my Maffetone zone of 115 to 125. So 23% of the time I was in that. 54% was in zone, the Maffetone zone, so 115 to 125, and 22 I went over. I want to really keep that number as low as I can, because that part of the training is when I'm going anaerobic and building up lactate, and I want to try and keep it below there. So that 22 was a bit hard, probably because I've just gone back. So what basically happening is there is I'm shooting over 125 as I'm running. The beeper's going off, the vibration's going off on my watch, and I need to start walking, but I'm not noticing, it's not beeping off quickly enough, basically, and taking a few seconds to go down. So I'm run, walk all the time at the moment. I cannot jog it without my heart rate going above the 125. And next day was the same, another 15-minute workout, slightly slower. Could be any reason for that. It was just, that was Saturday, so it wasn't long after we'd been out for my daughter's birthday meal, and it was 2 hours after. But I kind of went, as soon as I went out, I kind of knew I was still eating. But these numbers, like even if you run the same thing, they're going to fluctuate a lot from day to day. I say a lot. They're going to fluctuate from day to day. And then Sunday was kind of what we call a test day. So basically every month we're going to try and do the same run under as similar conditions as possible, just to see how we're progressing. And that was quite interesting because that was a 30-minute run to test. I did 2.3 miles in that time, and my average pace was 13 minutes and 3. So it's like 30 seconds off those 2 times, even though it was twice as fast. So you'd expect like the first mile to be quicker than the second mile. And it was the same. It was like a 0.6 of a mile circuit I did a few times. So, you know, there's not much fluctuation in ascent and descent. So that was like quite surprising. And the other thing was surprising was that I fasted for 24 hours. So after eating that birthday meal, I was like, oh, I'm only going to eat once today, and I'm going to eat in the evening because I'm a big fan of time restricted feeding. I don't do it all the time, but I do it every now and then. And yeah, I was like, I actually thought I would probably be a bit slower because I hadn't eaten for 24 hours, and I was actually a bit quicker. Monday was a rest day, as according to the program. Anyway, these 2 days are in this week, so I'm not going to cover those. The 2 days below are in next week. Yeah, so that was like really good. Let's just have a look at the volume. So yeah, for the week, I'd sort of changed the target because I'd missed Monday to Thursday to 1 hours 45 in the week. That was what the program basically said I needed to do. Main workout runs were an hour, 50 minutes on top of warming up and cooling down, which we include in our target hours. So yeah, I was actually 5 minutes over what I aimed for that week, probably just because my cool downs are a bit longer. And the average weekly pace was 13 minutes, 19 seconds per mile. Now, if we could just look back and see what it was at the beginning. So first week, this was not a proper full week, but 15 minutes and 3, 14:27, 14:10, 14:08. So pretty similar there, and quite a big drop to 13:19. Something to bear in mind is that the runs were shorter. So in the average pace, I haven't got many third miles. In these earlier ones, especially here, I'd run like 3 or 4 miles. So I've got the 3rd and 4th mile, which are obviously going to be slower if they're on the same ascent descent. But yeah, I mean, that is like really encouraging that so much time is coming off already. And I still feel that I'm kind of finding my way around with this. I mean, obviously I'm super unfit aerobically. So I think it's quite likely, especially as I'm fit anaerobically, I think, that I will see some quick improvement because of being so bad, so unfit. Yeah, so although I'm very glad it's happening, I kind of not expected it, but I can see why that would happen. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on this. I'm aiming to do this for something like 26 weeks of training this, building up to that 6 hours a week, which I think would happen in like week 11 or 12. Then another 12 hours of maybe the same. I might even move then into the 4 to 8 hour one. And then I've got a training program for the half marathon, which will actually time it just right to do something like a 12-week program, bringing in some speed work and stuff to try and have a good go at the half marathon. Yeah, I think that's about it. Anything else? If you're interested in learning more about how Zone 2 works, there's a guy, he's a medical doctor, American medical doctor and an engineer, scientist, amazing guy called Peter Attia, A-T-T-I-A. Got some fantastic YouTube interviews. He's done a great interview podcast with Tim Ferriss. And, oh, who was the other one with? Damn, he did a really good one with someone. I'll try and link it below. I can't remember who it was with. And yeah, definitely watch his stuff. It's really good. Catch you later, guys. Keep running.